Hello, today I'm joined by Chris Comstock, Claravine's Chief Product Officer. I'm Michael Shearer, the Head of Digital Marketing here at Claravine, and we're going to be talking about why metadata is key to long-term AEM success.
Thanks, Michael. So when we talk about the enterprise data problem here at Claravine, we kind of anchor on these three areas: that the average marketing organization has over 50 different point solutions with no consistent way to enforce data standards. Over $80 billion in paid media is spent each year due to poor data quality, due to the fact that a lot of campaigns and experiences are still launched using manual data entry and QA. And IBM estimates that in the US alone, over $3.1 trillion are lost due to poor data quality. So how we think about that, where Claravine fits in, is that the process to launch, track, and optimize enterprise digital experiences is broken. If we take a look at that data flow example, before one of our customers has put Claravine in place, and we take just the single name field across these different solutions and teams, many of these different teams, if we take a look at the email team or the display team or the mobile team or even the content team, as we're going to talk about with AEM, there's a goal to get as much information into that name field so you can provide as much context around what that piece of content was used for or what that campaign was for. And so a lot of customers have made efforts to standardize naming conventions and create a standard data model, but they have no way to actually enforce those standards. If we take a look at each of those different name fields, those teams, across those different teams, they have bits and pieces of that data model filled out. And again, they've tried to make an effort to create these standards, but with no way to enforce it across all these different systems, it becomes very difficult to make sense of, what year was in what place and what strategy the given campaign was for, after someone's actually doing analysis or trying to understand across those different solutions. And so we take a look at, after one of our enterprise customers has put Claravine in place, we really help all these different teams that are creating experiences, creating campaigns across content, generating that metadata to drive those experiences and ultimately produce the data that can be used for analysis to generate business decisions and ultimately used by the data science team to understand where to optimize. We'll take a look at kind of what those name fields look like after we've done an implementation for a customer. Here you can see that the name fields, no matter what system or what team created them, have a standardization to them, and in fact have all the fields populated and required and filled out, and the enterprise data model is consistent across those different teams, even down to the content that's created in the DAM, in this case in AEM, which we'll talk more about, has all of the proper tagging and information because it was required to be provided by each of those different teams in a consistent system such as Claravine.
Thanks, Chris. So going deeper into 5 ways to get the most from your Adobe Experience Manager metadata, we've identified these practical applications, and there are more, but these are the ones that we're going to discuss today. Internal DAM search, site search, faceted search, filtered applications on your site, customer experience and data layer optimization, search engine optimization, and content performance. And like I said, these 5 examples are the main ones we've identified, but there are others we won't cover in detail. By having standardized and governed metadata done at scale, all of these areas can be dramatically improved. The first one we want to start with is this internal DAM search. One of the most common problems in the content creation process is the duplication of efforts, and that's often because people can't find what they're looking for. And they usually can't find that because there's no standards in creating the file name or respective metadata or tagging. Therefore, internal DAM searches come up empty even when the file likely exists. So with standards, you'll save time searching and save even more time avoiding repeat work. Considering the content production output of many of our large enterprise customers, this can be a costly problem.
And here's a screenshot of what our integration with AEM and how we help apply that data governance across the title field and other fields within AEM. Here you can see that there's a number of fields from data we've pulled in from AEM where there's title fields missing, there may be different naming conventions, and we can help surface where there's data inconsistencies, make bulk changes, and allow that standardization so no matter who's looking for that piece of content, they're able to find it based on the specific data requirements for that given customer.
Great. And the next application is the site search or faceted search and filtering, specifically around sites like e-commerce, for example. So site and faceted search tools have really become an essential functionality to websites, especially businesses that are large catalog e-commerce sites, as well as large media sites. Every product in your catalog has metadata, commonly referred to as attributes, and they are attached to the filters and faceted searches. If this metadata is overlooked, key products may be missing when your user selects a specific search selector. Products may also be missing from related product sections. Having tools to recognize incomplete product attributes will help fix issues around missing results.
Great, Michael. And here's just kind of an example of how that surfaces within our interface. So again, where customers use Claravine, it's really providing access to the data, to the tagging, to the application of that data across those different products, which ultimately makes its way into the website for that search and application. But being able to put that tagging control in the hands of business owners, content creators, and in some cases, other agencies or external folks who you wouldn't want to grant direct access to AEM, to really providing a safe way for them to make updates as well as have a single platform as those changes to your taxonomy and things change, you're able to make that change in a single place and have that be pushed out and available to all the different teams that you've granted access to.
Thank you, Chris. The next area is the user-facing presentation layer. So not only is metadata useful for search enhancements, both internal and external, a lot of metadata is actually used at the presentation layer on product listings, articles, events, recipes, etc. However, this is my favorite example, is metadata that creates more accessible content. Some metadata will enrich your experiences for people with disabilities. We've recently published an article on our blog last month that goes in depth about this topic, and look for it, titled Digital Content Accessibility Checklist, that goes into much more detail on this example.
And here, one other piece of note, so kind of from a screenshot perspective, the tagging infrastructure and the tagging hierarchy within AEM can be hard to find and understand as things get created and become very complex over time. We can help simplify and narrow down the scope of who should have access to what areas of the taxonomy as it relates to tagging content, standardizing naming conventions, and kind of really controlling that mapping layer for the tagging logic you have within AEM, and simplifying that for the end users, the business owners, so they don't have to worry about where in the taxonomy a specific attribute lives. They can just come in, make some selections as you've defined within the Claravine UI, and then have those values still be controlled and populated as they need to be within AEM to drive that experience.
Thank you. The next area is data layer optimization. And I personally have some background in data layer optimization, so this one is near and dear. Earlier this year, we actually presented optimizing for event-based analytics at the DAA. And so you can look for that presentation on our site as well. It goes in depth on this topic. But prior for me joining Claravine, I actually worked at an agency where we configured the data layer for event-based analytics, as well as profile enrichment in marketing automation and CRMs. We utilized a lot of metadata associated with content and assets on the page to pull off some rather advanced analytics and automation functions. As sites become more interactive, we're going to require more event-based tracking, which requires the respective data to really capture the details of user engagement. Additionally, another area that we've identified as a practical application of metadata is search engine optimization. Maintaining brand standards is a key issue for some of our customers. For example, making sure title tags are uniformly representing the brand properly. It's helpful to be able to apply standards and edit title tags, meta descriptions, etc. in bulk. Further, if you're familiar with schema.org, this is another area of SEO that relies on thorough and accurate metadata and formatting that can contribute to positive search performance and displaying in the search engine result pages.
Great. Yeah, and really, again, that controlling access to different teams that may be managing SEO for your organization, being able to control what fields someone has access to. In a lot of cases, we have our customers have agencies who are managing some of that SEO or want to, provide people access to make changes and updates where they typically wouldn't have ever given access to AEM directly. And so you can see that control, the governance, and the definition of what those fields are they should have access to within Claravine to allow those updates within AEM. And then here you'll also see being able to standardize certain values. You'll see the schema type, as Michael mentioned, on article, so you can control and have different templates for the different types of content that are being pushed out, such that you can make sure that it's being properly tagged and not hoping that someone tags content right. The other piece too that we provide is that any change made within the platform, we understand who made the change, what the change was, both before and after. So it kind of gives you a single source of truth for the metadata and the attributes related to SEO as you're kind of evolving your SEO strategy to understand the impact that may or may not have had on your SEO ranking.
Awesome. And then content performance is the last area we're going to discuss. And Chris, you want to explain this one?
Yeah, so a lot of what we've talked about so far with AEM is really kind of the metadata, controlling and updating the metadata directly within AEM. For a lot of our enterprise customers who are really, thinking about their data flow and data problem holistically, content performance is something they've struggled with. So how do you understand what the assets and the pieces of content that you are creating, how do they relate back to the marketing campaigns that are being used to drive to the different landing pages? And so by being able to pull that AEM, Adobe Experience Manager asset information into Claravine, we can make that available to the different marketing teams or agencies who are then taking those assets, uploading them into different media platforms and ad servers where there's inherently a unique identifier generated within each of those systems. And those teams are understanding and can tag the marketing content, which is ultimately driving to a campaign ID, which asset was used to upload and generate the creative ID within Facebook or the creative ID within your ad server or in your DSP. And so by being able to make those associations within Claravine, that provides and opens up the opportunity for your analytics team, your data warehouse to understand how all the investment you're making in different content and the metadata associated to that content is actually driving revenue and business outcomes from the campaigns and the advertising dollars you're spending to ultimately acquire new customers.
Awesome.
Yeah, and then just to wrap up, kind of a quick overview of what we've really talked about today and our integration with AEM, and what we're really excited about it is it provides a single way and many different kind of use cases for customers, which we've covered today, to be able to map metadata within AEM, control what that data looks like, who has access to it, a single platform and source of truth for managing your taxonomy and putting that taxonomy in the hands of your content creators and your business owners without having to have them, in AEM directly or understand the content authoring process.
Great. Thank you, Chris, for chatting with me today about this. If anybody wants to learn more, you can visit our Learn More page here displayed, or there's probably a button that says Learn More below this video.